In today's news, Capcom put a lock made of ice on a 30-year-old door, legacy of Kain probably just died again, and Mario defies the critics. First up today, Capcom just love doing good stuff and then just doing something really stupid to just kind of balance themselves out, it seems. They have implemented something that will probably be about as useful as a chocolate condom in a brothel on Mars. You see, Capcom have implemented Enigma DRM. That's the thing that Monster Hunter Wilds was made unplayable by at launch in their GOG ports of their 30-year-old Resident Evil games, those being Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 Nemesis. The interesting thing is that these games are basically identical to their GOG versions, but higher in file size because of that DRM. It's also worth noting as well that this follows in the footsteps of Dino Crisis's port from GOG doing pretty much the same thing, and it was stupid then, and it's stupid now. It's worth bearing in mind as well that this is a time of celebration for Resident Evil. The series just turned 30. They managed to successfully remind people that the S in Leon S. Kennedy stands for sexy with the successful release of Requiem, and Netflix has not adapted it in a good while. It's just a really baffling decision to add DRM to this one. The only people that are really going to buy this version of Resident Evil are fans that have already bought it several times, probably. I know people that have already completed it multiple times. No one's going to go, oh, finally, Resident Evil 1's on Steam. My 30-year watch is over. I can finally play it. And it's also interesting because the game on GOG, which GOG was very responsible for bringing the game to PC in the first place, the original game at least, and it was in a no-clip documentary as well. I thought that was pretty interesting. One of them worth checking out. That shows you just, it was quite a complex task to manage to get that working on PC. So for them to basically take that really well-engineered port and to jam DRM into it is a strange one. Now, if I had to guess, it is because they have a contract with Enigma. That means that they have to always put DRM in their games on Steam. Enigma, by the way, are an Enigma themselves. They look like a shareware website from 1990. I'll show you what I mean. Is Enigma, who have not updated their website, I believe, since the first version of WinRAR came out. And they are what looks like a Russian company. Capcom actually went from Denuvo to these guys a while back, and they did remove Enigma from the remake of Resident Evil 4, so there is some hope in the future that they will remove DRM from these 30-year-old games. So over on Steam, the community has reacted to the introduction of DRM in, again, 3-decade-old games. It's not been as bad as you might think. 82% of reviewers have reacted positively, but that might be the nostalgia talking, finally having Resident Evil, the OGs, on a platform that they use the most. It is worth mentioning here as well that because the game has DRM, it does not work on a Steam Deck. I can't imagine many people with their 3080 Ti's or whatever's really strong these days will be thinking, oh, I wonder if it can run on my PC. It's a game that people will probably want to be playing portably rather than on PC, I imagine. Wow, stunning hair there. I always forget how yellow his hair is. Let's have a look at what some of the community has been saying about this port. Rare says on Steam, do not buy RE1 from Steam, buy it from GOG. You do have to agree with him there. Now that that's out of the way, this version of RE1 has a lot of the improvements from the GOG release as unnecessary DRM and doesn't work at all on Steam Deck. This mirrors the exact same issue that DC1 and DC2 Dino Crisis had when they came to Steam, and it's been over a month since those came out, so I doubt Capcom would ever fix those issues here. Winner mode is broken, no Steam overlay, no achievements, minor graphical issues, and more. These issues persist over all 3 original games. There's absolutely no benefit to buying the game from Steam when all it does is add DRM and be less accessible than the already great GOG releases. The port has been popular, at least, well, more popular than a new game that I'll get to in a minute. 419 people playing it in game, but it is a lazy port, let's be honest. Resident Evil 2 port has been quite popular as well, and the same goes for Resident Evil 3, but that is the least popular port as of right now anyway. So I guess if you really want the close to complete collection of Resident Evil games now, I believe there's only missing Code Veronica and a lot of the spin-offs like Survivor and Survivor 2 and Dead Aim on Steam, and you don't mind the fact that it looks like the DRM has been handled by a shareware company, it's alright. Speaking of shareware, I'm going to share a quick website with you that you may enjoy if you want to play these games another way. Google.com. Next up, the guys who are in control of Legacy of Kain really don't seem to know their onions. It's garlic that vampires don't like, isn't it? Garlic, yeah. Though a lot was at stake, that's another vampire pun, for Legacy of Kain fans with Ascendance. If you don't know, that's the first new Legacy of Kain game in I think about 15 years or so. Maybe even longer? I think. There was no Legacy of Kain game on the PS3 or Xbox 360, so PS2, I believe, would have been the last time with Defies. So yeah, 20 years ago. We've had remasters, a surprising Evercade port, even a story continuation in graphic novels, which is a lot more than what we've had for a long time since Nosgoth got cancelled all those years ago. But guys, Ascendance is not it. It's not it. As has become the style of this time, Legacy of Kain Ascendance is a 2D platformer revival in the style of the old games, but unfortunately in the style of way too much other stuff as well. Now, converting a typically 3D series into 2D is a nice way of updating an old franchise that might struggle to make its money back from a large-scale, expensive production. I'm not against it, I'm not against it at all. If Metal Gear wanted to go back to its roots with a top-down 2D game, I'd be all over that. Not gonna lie. But you're gonna do it right, and they simply haven't. Well, Crystal Dynamics didn't even do it themselves, and that's part of the problem. Over on Metacritic, Legacy of Kain Ascendance's PS5 version has received a pretty middling review average of 57 from just 11 critic reviews, which, AI and stuff and the crunch for outlets has made sure there's not very many outlets around these days. But 11, you would expect more than 11 from such a notable legacy, pretty foundational franchise like Legacy of Kain, really. The highest rated review comes from Cog Connected, it's hard not to say connected there, with a 75 out of 100 or a 7.5 out of 10, and then the worst comes from Final Weapon, cool name actually, with a 30 out of 100 or a 3 out of 10. A lot of them are very middling, but I think they're a lot more conservative than the actual Steam reviews. With only 29% of players giving it a positive review score, we're currently looking at a mostly negative rating for Legacy of Kain Ascendance, which is not very good. And if you look at the community hub and the current players, you can see that even people who have played it have bounced off it, and there's not nearly enough people playing it as it is, and even less so than 3 ports of 30-year-old games. Not good. As Chikoso puts it, a waste of time. Not even as a Legacy of Kain fan can I recommend it. The good, most of the original cast, music overall is fine. The bad, the inconsistent art direction, you can see that from just looking at the trailer. You can see about 8 different art styles. It's like a weird, student film kind of thing going on. At times there is pixel art and suddenly 3D scenes that don't work quite well together. The gameplay feels really janky, I think, and the level designs feel amateurish at most. A platformer filled with flies, burning bats stuff. The story is really bad. It seems like it was based on a kind of despised by the community graphic novel, adding elements to the original lore, creating plot holes and cheapening the impact of the original characters. It is great that we finally are getting more Legacy of Kain games, but if this is the level of quality, the wait wasn't worth it. Ouch. But if even Kain can have a little hope, so can we. Mazel Dazzle writes, I immediately bought this because I love this franchise. Unfortunately, this game feels like it was made by someone during a game dev jam. That's pretty brutal. Hollow Knight was originally made in a game dev jam. It's extremely basic and mechanically it feels very bad. The art and voice acting is good, but everything else is super generic. This franchise deserved better than this. Now, you might have noticed that Crystal Dynamics themselves didn't actually develop this one, and it feels like they may be cheaped out just a little bit on this new game. The game was developed by BitBot Media, who are the guys behind the Rocky Horror Show video game, Terror in the Corn, Knockoff, Deathgasm, all stuff that's not been on Steam yet, and it seems like there's a lot of them at one time. We've got a lot of in-development games, which is a lot for quite a small studio. In development. They helped with Angry Video Game Nerd, Angry Video Game Nerd 2, Night Terrors, but they've got a lot of stuff going on right now. They're all pretty much along the similar lines, but it seems like they may have bitten off more than they could chew here. It's the guy behind Cell Dweller who's doing this one, BitBot Media that is, and it seems like maybe it's too big a task this early on in their career. It is a shame, as this kind of game does work for Legacy of Kain. Soul Reaver was a Metroidvania adjacent kind of thing. All it had to do was be decent, let you turn into bat to get through new holes and stuff, like your dad, but they couldn't manage that in a cohesive way. And who knows when we'll see Legacy of Kain again. It's not exactly been the best revival of all time, has it? And finally today, the Super Mario Galaxy movie looked to be in trouble at the start of this week. As reviews dropped, that would leave the film hovering at a 35 on Metacritic, but apparently Illumination movies are just invulnerable to criticism. If 7 out of 10 is considered a bad review score, then just under 4 out of 10 will suggest that Tsumaguma is worse than flying a plane into a bus full of the last remaining turtles on the planet. Now that the movie has been released though, it turns out the wider audience disagrees, with the film receiving a $34.5 million opening day, and that's almost as much as we make a day here, earning it the title of the best opening of the year so far and best opening for an April Wednesday. That's pretty good going. Deadline notes that it even beats the previous film, which earned $31 million on day one. We wouldn't be surprised if that extra $3.5 billion is just cinema cost inflation though, honestly. Now, this could have just been a case of early hype before those who see the film then agree with the critics, but the user score on Metacritic is, at the time of writing, sitting on 7.7. Maybe it's not Criterion Collection worthy, but 7.7 does suggest a highly enjoyable film, if nothing else. It even got an A- on Cinema Score, which is basically a system where viewers are asked to review a movie as they're leaving the cinema. That doesn't mean the critics were wrong, only that an eager product tie-in mess can still be fun, and the critics generally like their movies to have a bit more weight to them. I don't know, that The Revenant really might have benefited from a bit more Yoshi though. Have Leonardo DiCaprio get absolutely mauled by a rabid Wario? All of the Oscars for that. But as things stand, it looks like the second Mario movie might make more than 10 quid, which is good for everyone, isn't it? Me personally, I will probably be waiting for a home release on this one, but how about you? Catching Mario in the cinema Mario? Let us know down below. And that was just a quick look at the news of the day. Did you want us to do more of this? This is something that we wanted to at least try for a little while. We could maybe do it daily or every other day. Depends on if you guys like it or not. If you just want to have us stay by what we usually do, that's also cool as well. I've been Jimmy for Culture Vultures. It's been good to have you, and I'll see you when I see you.